You don't get to win. That's what you have to understand. As a working person, you don't get to win. You get to work, all right, and make revenue for the government. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about today. The first thing is, what are banks doing? What is it that they think that they are doing? Here, I just got an email this morning showing a letter that a bank put up in their facility, pretty much telling people, hey, we will tell you when you can take your money out. We're also going to talk about how here in the United States and pretty much all over the developed nations that the middle class are being systematically eliminated. But how are they being systematically eliminated? I'm going to talk about that as well. And one of the reasons why 646 hospitals here in the United States, why are they being systematically eliminated as well? You know why? Because they serve you, the middle class. Another thing that I want to cover is another warning that if you use olive oil, get it now, because the price is still going up and it's going to continue to go up for years to come. Let me say thank you very much to the sponsor of this video, which is Contingency Medical, but we'll talk about them a little bit more here later on. Let's get started with this video because we've got a lot to cover. All right, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. I received an email this morning with a letter like this from a bank in the UK, I believe. Looking to withdraw cash? Good question. You're a bank, right? Probably you are looking to withdraw cash if you're in a bank. Our primary aim, they say, is to keep customers safe and secure. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, you have to really decipher what they're telling you. Our primary aim is to keep customers safe and secure. Is that the job of a bank? Is it the job of a bank to keep you safe and secure? A job of a bank is to have a ledger of the ins and the outs. Are you owed any money that you have deposited in that bank? Because if you have a deposit in that bank, that money is owed to you. Fundamentally, we're not talking about law, about the legality of whether that money belongs to you or not. Fundamentally, it does. You earned it, you put it in there, you should be able to get it out whenever you want. If you can't do that, then something has to be afoul, don't you think? All right. And our branches follow our processes carefully to achieve keeping you safe and secure, ladies and gentlemen. This will include asking you questions about the purpose of your cash withdrawal. So your cash withdrawal, your cash, now you have to satisfy the questions that they're asking you to withdraw the cash that you worked for, that you put in there, ladies and gentlemen. This is the kind of world that we're living in now, and this is going to infect all Western nations. We may also ask for supporting documentation, such as an invoice. So if you're going out there to take enough money out to, let's say, buy a used car, you have to have supporting documentation. That's what you're going to do with your money. It's like when you were a child and you got an allowance and you told your mom and dad, hey, I want to buy this. And they're like, well, we have to check it out first before we let you buy it. Now, I agree that a mother and a father should do that with their children. Shouldn't just let them buy things in the blind, especially if it's something that is a pricier item. However, are banks your mom and your dad? Well, I guess now they think that they are. I know I'm being a little sarcastic here, ladies and gentlemen, but this is ridiculous. It really is. And this is actionable intel. If this is happening in Europe now, or in parts of Europe, in that part of the world, do you not think that it's going to spread elsewhere? Right? Do you not think that it's going to spread elsewhere? And they're doing this for a purpose, and we're going to get to that purpose here in a minute. All right, so them checking documentation, invoices, and such things for you to be able to take your money out, this is going to help them validate the withdrawal as genuine and protect you against fraud and scams. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you what, freedom is not safe. Freedom is you being able to live with the consequences of the decisions that you make, ladies and gentlemen. That's what freedom is. Having someone watch over your every step and dictate to you what you can and cannot do with your own private property that you work for, that's not freedom. For whatever reasons they say they're doing it, it's not freedom. All right, so please note that it is advisable to give the bank 24 hours notice on large cash withdrawals, which to them a large cash withdrawal is £2,000 or more, if you would like specific denominations. And it says here, this is the kicker. In some instances, we may choose, they may choose, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, this is so ridiculous. To decline the cash withdrawal based on the information provided surrounding the transaction, this will be at the branch's own discretion. They don't have to check. There's no rule book. It's just, hey, if it sounds fishy, I'm not going to give you your money back. Come back with a better story next time. What's this leading to? It's leading to the elimination of cash. It's leading to making it so difficult for you to get cash that you will be like, well, you know what? Let's just, when they introduce this digital system that they want us to go into, the CBDC, this Fed Now, whatever they call it in any part of the world that's trying to institute this, which is pretty much every part of the world right now, right? This is what they want people to have to go through in order to decide, let's just do the digital. It's such a pain in the butt to go to a bank and get cash. It's such a pain in the butt that when I go to an ATM, when I used to be able to get out $600, now I can only get $400, and eventually they'll make it less and less and less. And we have a great example of that coming up in a country that this has already been tried in. All right. So this is where this is getting us, ladies and gentlemen, is to a digital system where they can have full control. Look at how much control they have now. And this control that they have, they've granted to themselves. And where is government saying, hey, you can't do this? You remember I told you a long time ago, I said that how can you be angry at corporations for making a profit? Because they're following the rules and the laws that government put forth. So for example, if government wrote a law, if Congress passed a law that said the private citizen, you and I, the average worker, you no longer have to pay any taxes whatsoever. None whatsoever. Would you like that law? I'm sure I would like that law. I would love that law. Who would say no to that law? Right? It would benefit you greatly on a personal level, and I would say on the level of your community, on the level of your state, everywhere. I think it would benefit everyone greatly. So you would love that law, right? So here, since you don't have enough money to hire lobbyists, right, and buy votes in Congress and the Senate, since you don't have enough money to do that, well, you can't do that. You can't affect that change. But these large corporations, they have enough money to buy our prostitutes in Congress and the Senate. They have enough money to buy them prostitutes, right? So they get them to pass laws that benefit them, right? And then they take advantage of those laws. It's just how it works. It is the system that is rotten, right? It is the system that allows our representatives to sell themselves to the highest bidder. It is that system that is rotten, ladies and gentlemen. So these businesses, they're going to continue to do this as long as the system allows them to do it. So you have to protect yourself against this happening here. That way you can resist. It's all about being able to resist peaceably, but being able to draw the time out, being able to continue to fight and live to fight another day, to draw the time out and wait them out. Because this is what they did in Nigeria. And Nigeria is a small country where they already try to do the CBDC. They try to do it by telling people, hey, this is a great way to do it. This is better than having cash. And then when the people said, no thanks, then they try to do it a little bit forcibly, saying, hey, you can only take out so much cash out of your ATMs. You can only take out so much cash out of the bank. There's only going to be this much cash to go around, etc. Just like they're doing over there in Great Britain now, right? Just like they're saying, hey, you can only take out so much cash. And the people said, no, that's not going to work, right? And the people, from my perspective, from my point of view, they are winning. I've partnered with Contingency Medical because they provide us the opportunity to purchase emergency medicines that include antibiotics. Just like having a good water filtration system in your home is paramount, I believe that having a set of personalized emergency medicines is just as important. With Contingency Medical, you can legally obtain prescription antibiotics that will be prescribed to you by a real doctor and filled by a real pharmacist in a real pharmacy. The process is very easy and only takes a few minutes. Take a look at the link and a code that will save you some cash under the description of this video, and I will leave it on a pinned comment. Thank you very much, Contingency Medical, for sponsoring this video. And the reason that they're winning, ladies and gentlemen, is because they are fighting back. They are resisting. They are protesting. They are saying, no, we don't want this system and we're not going to use it. And they're not using it. So now what are they going to do? What are their country's leaders supposedly going to do if the people just won't use it? Well, they're going to have to go to what the people want eventually. but the people are standing strong and standing together. They are using Nigeria and other countries as a test subject before rolling out these programs in the West. It is hard for Americans to fathom currency cancellation, as it has never occurred here. That I have to disagree with, that currency cancellation has never occurred here, because back in when FDR confiscated gold, i.e. confiscated gold, that was a cancellation of the current currency. You see, because money, which is gold and silver, is the same as currency if that money is being used to interact, right? So yes, that was a cancellation of currency. And back in 1971, when Richard Nixon took us off of the gold standard, that was also a cancellation of currency. Because although we weren't using gold and silver to exchange on a daily basis, the actual metal coins, we weren't using that. We were using currency at that time, because currency is something that is a note in exchange for the real thing. And even though we could not exchange it for the real thing at that time, it was backed up by gold, 40% backed up by gold. So that was kind of like a hybrid currency, I guess you can say. So we have had currency cancellations here in the United States. And each time that that has happened, who is it that has paid the price? It has been the American people. How? Through inflation, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what's going to happen again. After all of this stuff that's going on with the banks, with the debt ceiling and all that stuff plays out, it is the people who will end up paying for it again via the mechanism that governments love to use in order to impoverish you, and that is inflation. Yet, the Federal Reserve has made it clear that they are looking into this option. Per usual, they market it as convenience. It's going to be convenience for you to be able to go to a digital currency, because they're going to make it so inconvenient for you to be able to use cash and use the system that we have now. In truth, it is a way to ensure money stays on the grid under the thumb of government. Of course it is. They will not allow 1 cent to go untaxed. And that's what government is. Government is pure force that wants to take your wealth. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Give me another reason for government except to grow, and to grow on your backs, on your labor, on your wealth, on your money that you earned. What else? Because they obviously don't do what they're supposed to be doing. Are they securing our borders? Are they protecting our national borders? I don't know. I would say personally, my opinion, not really, right? They're not doing that. Are they, making sure that the American people come first? In my opinion, no. Are they even adhering to the Constitution of the United States? All right, let's go ahead and finish this one off. They will not allow 1 cent to go untaxed. And as the program expands, i.e. CBDC, they can remove individuals and organizations from participating in society entirely. That's what we're headed into if we allow a CBDC to become reality, ladies and gentlemen. A lot more inflation and a lot more of being your mommy and daddy telling you what you can and cannot do. Prepare now. This is what I do. I'm not telling you what to do, but I make sure that I keep enough cash at home for 3 to 6 months of expenses. And my expenses aren't that much, so that may be asking a lot for some people that maybe have a large mortgage or something, but do the best that you can. And what I mean by keeping it at home, not necessarily at home. Maybe keep a little bit at home, but then keep the rest in a place that you can get to in a hurry. I am also a proponent of keeping 3 to 6 months of expenses in the bank as well, because nowadays most people pay their bills with bank accounts, right? Directly from a bank. So you continue to live your life regularly, paying your bills from your bank account, and if everything falls apart, you have a little nest egg that you can continue to live for the next 3 to 6 months, which will do what? It will give you time to think. And this is why inflation is so important to the government. Again, ladies and gentlemen, government is nothing but force. They want to do nothing but control the people from a centralized location. Think about this if you live in Alaska. Think about this if you live, in any state that's really far away from, let's say, the East Coast, right, from Washington, D.C. What does Washington, D.C. know about the people that live in Alaska, or about the people that live in California, or about the people that live in Kentucky? What do they really know? What, they have 2 senators per state in there, and they have so many Congress persons per state, depending on the population of that state. That's all that they know. about the states that they are governing, that they are centrally governing and telling those states what to do. What business does Washington really have telling Alaska what to do? If you wanted to destroy a middle class, one way that you could accomplish that goal would be to flood the system with money, which is the definition of inflation, ladies and gentlemen. Let me explain something to you really quick. I'm going to try to do this the best that I can, right? Let's say that the government just printed $5 trillion and flooded the economy with $5 trillion. Who is that going to benefit? Some may say, well, trickle-down economics says that it will eventually benefit anyone, but it will not. It will only benefit those people that are at the top, that receive those monies first, that get those loans at very low interest rate first, which are who? The big wigs. And how does it benefit them and not benefit the working person? I'm going to explain that to you in a minute, right now. All right, and I just grabbed this little jar of cheese here, freeze-dried cheese, to use it as an example. Now this is a house. This is $1 million house that's on the market for sale, okay? And this is what's considered an asset, right? It's an asset. Why? Because it's worth something. It's real. Okay, this is real. This is an asset. Right? So let's say the government floods the economy with trillions of dollars, right? And how does that money get out to the economy? It gets out through the economy, through the banks, mainly through the banks or government spending. The banks loan out at ridiculously low interest rates when the government wants to do quantitative easing and the Federal Reserve lowers the interest rates. So me being a bigwig, guess what? Since I'm a bigwig, I get to borrow money first at lower rates than you do, the working person. The person that goes out there and works, that lives paycheck to paycheck, all right, that's trying to live the American dream, that's middle class, you don't get to borrow money at an interest rate that I do. I get to borrow really cheap. So I'm going to borrow $1 million or $40 million, whatever it is, and I buy this home, right? Let's say I bought it for $1 million at 1% interest. Again, while you, ladies and gentlemen, get to borrow a 3-4% interest. You don't get to win. That's what you have to understand. As a working person, you don't get to win. You get to work, all right, and make revenue for the government, right? So this is how the wealthy get wealthier. Now, as soon as I spent that $1 million on this house, I was one of the very first people that got to spend that money that got flooded into the system. I was one of the very first people. Why? Because I'm in the club. So I spent $1 million on this house. Well, what happens when money is flooded into an economy? Well, when money is flooded into an economy, it usually takes about a lead time of about 6 months to 18 months before that inflation starts to realize itself in the price of goods, in the price of things. So where you maybe got a raise at work because inflation, right? You had to get a raise because things are now costing more. Your standard of living didn't really go up. You know, the things that you own didn't really go up very much. But that house that Mark Zuckerberg bought for $1 million, now it's worth $3 million or $4 million. You know, take a look at your shopping basket from 2 or 3 years back. See what $100 got you then, and see what $100 gets you today. All right, now that I bored you to death, here it says that, of course, that is precisely what we have witnessed over the past few years, is the system being flooded with money. Our leaders have pumped trillions of new dollars into the system, and the wealthy have gotten much richer. Meanwhile, the rest of us has seen the cost of living rise much faster than our paychecks have. As a result, we are getting poorer and the middle class is shrinking, and that is their end goal, is to have a two-class system, those of the haves and those of the have-nots, ladies and gentlemen. Collectively, big government and big corporations run virtually everything, and that's called crony capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. And this system of corporate socialism funnels tremendous amounts of wealth into the pockets of a very small minority of the population. And that's exactly what it is. We live in a socialist capitalist society. Socialist for the big corporations, meaning that they get bailed out with our money. And the reason that we are a capitalist society, the working person, is because when we fail, we're allowed to fail, right? We are allowed to fail. Nobody comes and bails us out. When you claim bankruptcy, when you're about to lose a house, nobody comes and bails you out. But these corporations, yes, they do. Look at the banks. Look at these banks that failed. They bailed out the big ones, right? Even though they said they were never going to bail out again. They actually broke the law. They broke the same law that they passed. They said that banks will never be bailed out again, that they'll be bailed in. But when they found out that in these banks, I think it was that Silicon Valley Bank, one for sure, the FDIC completely bailed out every single account there, even all of the accounts that were over $250,000. Why? Because there were a lot of bigwigs there. A lot of bigwigs there, ladies and gentlemen. They were in the club. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is why we do not need to increase the debt limit, right? Or the debt ceiling, whatever you want to call it. We do not need to increase it. They need to increase it. Why? Because without a continual borrowing and bringing new money into the system falls. What system is that? The system of control that the government has built around us. That's what falls. You see, money is everything, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Some people get upset when I say money is everything, but let me explain to you why. Because money represents your label, your private property. It's what it represents. Your labor, your time, your energy, it belongs to you. So when you trade that time and that energy for a dollar bill, that is your time and your energy that you put into that. That's what that dollar bill represents to you. And then you're able to exchange that dollar bill in order to be able to live the standard of living that you want to live, depending on how many dollar bills you want to earn through your labor. So as long as they continue to control that, they continue to control us. And in order to do that is to continue to borrow, because we live in a debt system. All right. Here it says, if the X date is breached, Treasury will prioritize the payment of principals and interest on U.S. Treasuries. So what they're saying is that we still have money. Even if we don't borrow past the X date, we still have money. And the thing that they're going to pay first, of course, is going to be, it's not mandated by law, but in a way we have to do it unless we want to turn into a third world country overnight, instantly, right? And that's a fact, is that they will pay the interest on the debt that we already have, right? So if we don't increase the debt ceiling, they're going to continue to pay the interest on the debt, right? If the X date is breached. So the chance of them defaulting is virtually nil, and they won't default on the debt as long as they pay the interest. That said, it's possible that Social Security payments or military paychecks could be delayed, which could of course increase political pressure and thus the chances of a deal, yet which could also carry the risk of a downgrade in the credit rating of the United States government debt. I believe that downgrade is coming either way, ladies and gentlemen, right? Which means that in the future, we're going to end up paying higher interest for our debt. No matter what the Federal Reserve lowers the interest rate to, we'll end up paying higher interest. In my opinion, that is. Interestingly, if the standoff is able to make it until June 15th, listen to this, when quarterly tax payments are due, it might allow the debate to continue into July. So you see, we have tax dollars coming into the government, right? It's just that they spend too much. But we have enough coming into the government to pay our interest payments, to pay Social Security, to pay whatever military paychecks, to pay all of our mandatory expenditures. We have enough coming in to pay for those things. It's just that the money that they borrow, i.e. the government, they use that money for things that we really never voted in. And I've talked about those things before, about doing research on crazy things, about funding boondoggles all over the country and all over the world. So it's just money that's being wasted in order to do what? In order to keep the monsters that we've created fed. Military industrial complex, pharmaceutical industrial complex, the prison industrial complex, etc., etc., etc. Go on, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the money that is borrowed against our nation is used for. Everything that we earn, that they extort from us in taxes, that is enough to run the country. It's just that a lot of the things that aren't really constitutional is what's funded with that money that's borrowed into existence, making the money that you earn valueless. And here is another victim of inflation, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not. 646 hospitals at risk of closure. All right. There are 646 rural hospitals at risk of closure due to financial issues, comprising around 30% of all rural hospitals in the U.S. 30%. It's not a small number. The hospitals face losses on patient services as health plans aren't paying enough to cover the cost of care delivery. The losses will likely increase as inflation and workforce shortages persist. More than half of the states in the United States report 25% or more of their rural hospitals are at risk of closure, and more than 200 hospitals nationwide are at immediate risk of closing. This may not sound like a lot, but it's an awful lot to the people that live around and near those hospitals that are closing. And to finish it off, one last warning on olive oil, ladies and gentlemen. If you like your olive oil, get that olive oil now. In my opinion, olive oil has a very nice shelf life. I like to get the ones that are in cans or the ones that are in bottles, glass bottles, for long-term storage. I like to get the ones that Costco sells, that's extra virgin olive oil. They come from Italy, or the ones they make here, I think, in California. I like to get those for everyday use because it's a really good quality oil, and even though the price has gone up, the price is going to continue to go up. So get ready now. Spain's severe drought and parched soils have sent olive oil prices to levels not seen in more than a decade. The surge in olive oil price, along with fresh produce, is exacerbating already high food prices. Spanish extra virgin olive oil have jumped 200% since 2020 to 5,870 euros. It's actually more than 200%, ladies and gentlemen. Check this out. I'm not sure if you can see this chart very well because it's kind of light here on the screen, but since 2020, it was about 2,000 on 2020, and now in 2023, it's sitting at about 5,000 or 5,800. Yeah, so that's almost a threefold of the original price that olive oil now costs. In Spain, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know that this problem isn't going to go away in one season, Spain accounts for 40% of the world's olive oil supply. All right, so if they're doing this because of droughts and droughts persist, then you can see this price going up even more and more as the years go by. So just stock up now, that way you have it. All right, it may seem a little expensive now, but it's nothing compared to what it will be going forward. Man, I think I made this video about 1,000 hours long. All right, but I got carried away a lot of times, and for those of you that are new here, if you're still here, you're awesome. Let me tell you that. If you're still here, you're awesome. Thank you very much for sticking through this very boring video. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are still here and you are new, let me just tell you that when I do these videos and I look into the camera, I try to visualize like if someone else is there, so that I'm talking with you and not talking at you. To me, you're not a subject. To me, you're just part of the AP community. Part of my extended family per se. So I hope that you do enjoy these. Go take a look at the video that I put out yesterday on the Opus Mega 5. It's an awesome solar generator. It's the most powerful one that I've reviewed, and I really haven't heard of one that's more powerful than 4,000 watts continuous, one that you can actually use to run your dryer and still have power left once the dryer is done drying. All right, you can actually use this thing to power a small cabin or even an RV. But we'll go ahead and leave it at that for now. Again, thank you very much to Contingency Medical for sponsoring this video. Have a great day, ladies and gentlemen. God bless every one of you. God bless America. I'm Alaska Prepper. I am out.